World wars have fundamentally reshaped the international order, drawing in great powers from every continent and leaving a lasting impact on the course of human history. These conflicts, unlike any before them, were not confined to a single region or a handful of nations. Instead, they swept across the globe, pulling in countries from Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas, and forever altering the political, social, and economic landscapes of the world. The sheer scale and intensity of world wars set them apart from previous conflicts, as entire societies were mobilized for war, and the boundaries between the battlefield and the home front blurred. The human and economic costs of these wars were staggering. Millions of lives were lost, families were torn apart, and entire cities were reduced to rubble. The aftermath saw waves of refugees fleeing their homes, wounded soldiers struggling to recover, and nations grappling with the immense task of rebuilding. Economies were shattered, and the scars of war lingered for generations, shaping the collective memory of societies around the world. Unlike regional wars, world wars forced nations to make stark choices, either to join alliances for survival or to assert dominance on the global stage. Countries committed all available resources, from manpower to industry, in a desperate bid to secure victory or simply to endure. The decisions made by leaders during these times had far-reaching consequences, not only for their own people but for the entire world. Alliances, whether formal treaties or informal understandings, played a pivotal role in escalating regional disputes into global catastrophes. In the lead-up to World War I, a complex web of alliances meant that a conflict between two countries could quickly draw in many others, turning a local crisis into a worldwide conflagration. These alliances acted as tripwires, making it nearly impossible to contain the spread of war once it began. The lessons of these entanglements continue to influence international relations to this day. In the present era, we are witnessing the formation of distinct geopolitical blocs, reminiscent of the alliances that preceded the world wars. On one side, democracies led by the United States are forging closer ties, while on the other, revisionist powers seek to challenge the existing order and reshape the balance of power. These blocs are defined not only by military cooperation but also by shared values, economic interests, and strategic goals. The world is once again at a crossroads, with the potential for rivalry and cooperation shaping the future of international relations. The stakes today are even higher than in the past, due to the existence of nuclear weapons and advanced military technologies. The potential for destruction is unprecedented, making the need to understand these emerging blocs and their motivations more urgent than ever. As nations navigate this complex landscape, the choices they make will determine whether the world moves toward greater conflict or lasting peace. Understanding the dynamics of world wars and alliances is not just a matter of history, it is essential for safeguarding the future of humanity. The United States stands at the helm of the Western Bloc, a position it has held for decades, guiding its allies through times of both peace and crisis. This leadership is not just a matter of military might, but also of shared history, values, and a vision for a stable world order. The U.S. has long been seen as the anchor of Western security, diplomacy, and economic cooperation, shaping the direction of its partners and setting the tone for global engagement. As the architect of the post-World War II order, the United States played a pivotal role in rebuilding war-torn Europe, launching initiatives like the Marshall Plan that not only restored economies, but also fostered enduring alliances. These efforts laid the groundwork for a network of partnerships that would define the Western Bloc for generations, emphasizing cooperation, mutual defense, and the promotion of democratic ideals. Yet, in recent years, confidence in U.S. leadership has faced challenges. Shifting global dynamics, political polarization, and controversial foreign policy decisions have led to skepticism among some allies and the global public. Despite these fluctuations in trust, the foundational relationships and shared interests that bind the Western Bloc remain resilient, adapting to new realities while holding firm to core principles. At the heart of this coalition is NATO, established in 1949 as a bulwark against aggression and a guarantor of collective security. NATO's principle of collective defense, an attack on one is an attack on all, has been the bedrock of transatlantic unity. Over the decades, NATO has expanded its membership and adapted its mission, responding to new threats such as cyber warfare, terrorism, and regional instability, while continuing to serve as the cornerstone of Western military cooperation. In the Indo-Pacific, the US-Japan alliance has emerged as a linchpin of regional security, especially in the face of China's growing influence and assertiveness. Joint military exercises, intelligence sharing, and coordinated strategies underscore the depth of this partnership, which is vital for maintaining a balance of power and ensuring open sea lanes in one of the world's most dynamic regions. This alliance is further strengthened by the active participation of regional partners like South Korea and Australia. These nations contribute not only military capabilities, but also diplomatic and economic resources, forming a robust network of cooperation that extends across the Pacific. Together, they conduct joint drills, share intelligence, and coordinate responses to emerging threats, reinforcing the collective security architecture. Beyond these core alliances, countries such as Canada and the United Kingdom play essential roles in the broader coalition. Their contributions range from delivering humanitarian aid in crisis zones to shaping international policy at forums like the G7. These nations are also instrumental in imposing coordinated sanctions, leveraging their economic and diplomatic influence to uphold international norms and respond to global challenges. The overarching goal of this coalition is to deter any power, state or non-state, that seeks to disrupt the established global order. Through a combination of military readiness, economic measures, and diplomatic engagement, the Western Bloc works to prevent conflict, manage crises, and maintain a balance that favors stability and peace. Ultimately, the strength of the Western Bloc lies in its unity, rooted in shared values, mutual trust, and a collective commitment to preserving global stability. This coalition, forged in tradition and tested by time, continues to adapt and endure, shaping the world for generations to come. In the shifting landscape of global power, a formidable coalition has emerged to challenge the long-standing dominance of the West. At the forefront of this movement are China and Russia, two nations with deep historical grievances and ambitions that stretch far beyond their borders. Together, they are spearheading a new era of international relations, one that seeks to undermine the influence of the United States and its allies, and to reshape the rules that have governed the world since the end of the Cold War. Their partnership, which was already growing stronger before the invasion of Ukraine, has only deepened in recent years. This alliance has expanded to include other nations that share similar authoritarian values and a desire to resist Western pressure. Iran and North Korea, both isolated by international sanctions and diplomatic censure, have found common cause with China and Russia. Together, these countries form a bloc united not just by political convenience but by a shared vision of governance that rejects liberal democracy and champions state control. These revisionist powers are not content to simply defend their own regimes. Instead, they are actively working to carve out spheres of influence across the globe, from Eastern Europe to the Middle East and the Asia-Pacific. Their goal is to create a multipolar world order where no single country or alliance can dictate terms to others. By asserting their interests and supporting like-minded governments, they hope to build a system in which their sovereignty is respected and their ambitions are unchecked by outside interference. The cooperation among these nations is not just rhetorical, it is visible in their actions. Joint military exercises, the exchange of advanced weaponry, and coordinated diplomatic strategies have become routine. These countries share intelligence, provide each other with economic lifelines, and support one another in international forums. Their military parades and arms deals send a clear message. They are prepared to defend their interests, and they are willing to stand together against external threats. While there are certainly tensions and rivalries within this coalition, differences in national interests, historical disputes, and competition for regional influence, their shared opposition to the Western-led order is a powerful, unifying force. In moments of crisis, these leaders set aside their differences to present a united front, leveraging their combined strength to push back against sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and military pressure. The actions of this coalition are having a profound impact on the international system. By undermining global institutions, challenging the authority of organizations like the United Nations, and promoting alternative models of governance, they are eroding the foundations of the Western-led world order. As these revisionist powers continue to assert themselves, the future of global stability and cooperation hangs in the balance. Taiwan is a flashpoint with potential to ignite global conflict, viewed by China as a renegade province. The US maintains strategic ambiguity, committing to Taiwan's defense, but tensions rise. A Chinese invasion would likely draw the US and allies into direct conflict, threatening regional security. Taiwan's semiconductor production is crucial, and conflict would disrupt global supply chains. A successful invasion would shatter US security guarantees, cementing China's regional dominance. The Taiwan standoff is a struggle for the future of the Indo-Pacific order. Eastern Europe remains volatile, with Russia's actions in Ukraine challenging the post-Cold War order. A Russian victory could embolden further aggression, testing NATO's resolve. The Baltic states are on the front line, with any attack triggering NATO's collective defense. Nations are fortifying borders, learning from Ukraine's war, and preparing for potential conflict. The threat in Eastern Europe underscores fears of a larger struggle for the continent's future. The specter of nuclear weapons looms over potential great power conflicts, with stability eroding. Experts predict increased nuclear proliferation, with Iran and others pursuing arsenals. Tactical nuclear weapons could be used in conventional conflicts, risking escalation. The nuclear shadow changes warfare calculus, with potential for global annihilation. Leaders must weigh decisions with existential risks, as the margin for error shrinks. Global insecurity drives nations to bolster defenses, preparing for high-intensity warfare. Europe leads with soaring defense budgets, reversing decades of cuts. Civil defense is revived, with public shelters and preparedness measures. Fortified defenses like the Baltic Defense Line aim to deter aggression. Militarization diverts resources from other needs, reflecting the return of great power competition. The world shifts from US dominance to a contested multipolar order, with power centers like China and Russia. Global institutions falter, while new blocs like BRICS gain prominence. A multipolar world is less stable, with increased potential for conflicts. Declining global institutions mean fewer diplomatic channels to de-escalate crises. The rise of multiple powers with ambitions and grievances makes the world more dangerous. The world stands at a crossroads, with opposing blocs consolidating and flashpoints primed for conflict. Nations invest in defense, preparing for probable conflict, while global institutions weaken. Yet the consequences of war can serve as a restraint, with interconnected economies at stake. Statesmanship and dialogue are needed to manage competition without escalating to war. The future is a choice: continue rivalry or find wisdom to build a stable global order.